I was in the hype of growing, expanding. And then one year, I lost everything. And because of that loss I had, I managed to have the opportunity to be connected with a true me and find my mission. Between 1995 and 2000, I was running a startup based in Taiwan, and we expanded to China. The company started with 2 co-founders, and in a couple of years, we had 250 people. I left the company I co-founded because I believe that this decision would prevent the unnecessary conflict when the company at that moment needed solidarity. Because of that, I came to the UK, I started a new life, and I built the new set of friends. Had that not had happened, I would not have been here, and I would not have British children. So I really didn't lose anything. At the beginning, when the children were very young, they responded when I spoke Chinese. And then they realized that actually most people, they speak English. So they started refusing. I saw that they were not interested in learning Chinese. And after searching for solutions, I couldn't find any. So I started drawing on notebooks, and then I started using my computer to show what the character means. Each character is like a piece of art. After breaking down thousands of Chinese characters, I discovered there are only about 70, 80 building blocks. If you know those 70 blocks, you can construct hundreds and thousands of characters. I had the vision in my mind. The type of illustrations has to be something universal, something striking. They have to look like what the character means, and something that everybody from different cultural linguistic background can understand. After I showed a couple friends the method I developed, I decided to do a Kickstarter campaign. We tried to raise 75,000, and we ended up with 195,000, 197,000 pounds. This is really not just about learning Chinese. The mission for Chinesey is to bridge the gap between the East and the West, because our future depends on our ability to bring the East and the West together in a peaceful and productive relationship. My children have been my inspiration from the beginning. We started with a napkin. Now we have games, apps, and publications available in over 19 languages in 30-something countries. Without going through this process, it's hard to understand. When bad things happen, you never know. There's another door that could open for you. I don't have a job. I have a mission.
Hello once again and welcome to the show. The groundbreaking Liveability Features Framework was co-developed by Cecille Weldon and the CSIRO. It defines and verifies an important cluster of 17 property features for Australian homes which deliver the potential for reduced running cost and increased comfort if they're used correctly. Now, we're going to talk about those 17 features in just a moment, but firstly, let me welcome our guest for this series, and that is Cecille. Hi, Cecille, welcome.
Hello everybody.
We had the pleasure of talking to you recently about your organic time management in Real Estate Uncut. That was very, very enlightening for me. I'll tell you what, it made me change the way I look at time management, I have to say.
Well, There we are. It'll haunt you.
It will haunt me. It was an excellent five series episodes. So check it out. It's at realestateuncut.com.au. I wanted to introduce Cecille to a little bit of background for you. Cecille was responsible for the creation and development of the Banksia award-winning Liveability real estate framework that I mentioned in the opening. It was developed to drive a new value proposition in real estate. This groundbreaking property marketing framework and PropTech, which we will talk a lot about in this interview, includes a new professional pathway in real estate, the Liveability Real Estate Specialist. This initiative encompasses agent training, exclusive listing tools, the PropTech appraisal checklist, which we'll touch on, with verified benchmarks, and the collaborative consumer portal, not portable, well, it probably is portable if you've got a laptop, but portal liveability.com.au, and we'll put a link to that website for you in this commentary as well. So, long-winded way to say, welcome, Cecille. Tell me about the aspects of good design. What does it cover?
I think what this is representing is a whole lot of property features that deliver really great homes but are often missing in property advertising. And these are the features that really help make a home more comfortable but also cheaper to run. And everybody's going through nationally a whole lot of bill stress. This is things that you can do, slide in these features into your renovation or just a simple upgrade, and it can take some of the worry out of your running costs. And so this information was important that it be standardised and made very simple and easy to apply, because there's all sorts of debate about, does it really matter? Does this help with this? What does this particular thing do? And so this clarifies them all. So the design aspect, the aspects of good design, is sometimes called passive design, and that's where the house design itself helps you. So this is north-facing living rooms. So a lot of people know that north-facing is good, but they don't know which face should be north-facing. So in this situation, it's your living rooms, because they're the rooms you heat and cool the most. And if you've got north-facing living rooms, then with the right shading, you can get that beautiful winter sun, but keep out that summer sun. So there's orientation, there's cross ventilation, being able to close off your rooms. This is all different aspects of passive design. So there's some of the 17 things.
We'll talk about the 17 things. I want to deal with them in a little bit more detail, but it is about affordability too. So, we all have an obligation to live well in this world, to become a lot more sustainable. But some of the advice that you give and that we'll cover in this interview is all about ongoing affordability, potential of an existing home for sale or for rent. So I wonder if we could just go through some of the main points, the 17 livability features that we talk about.
I think why this is incredibly important is Australia's debate around affordable housing or afford to buy, get into the market, first home buyers, how can they deal in this market, is missing a really large piece of information, because it's the cost of living expenses that are now becoming a barrier to saving for your first home, not just the cost of the first home. So what these livability features do is they bring in some real data, some information about a property, about not just afford to buy, but afford to live in. Because in actual fact, you should be bringing those two things together in a conversation nationally about affordability. So what we did is we had a look at what are the features that will deliver reduced running costs and increased comfort if you use these features correctly. So for instance, if you had double glazed windows but you left them open all winter, they're not going to do you no use at all, right? So what's important is those two parts of the conversation. First of all, if you're a homeowner or a renter or an investor, you need to understand what are the features that really matter, and then how can I use them more effectively at the right times of the year to get them to really work for me. It's sort of like changing the way we see our homes. Suddenly our homes become adaptable. They can respond to winter and summer better. So the big benefit of this isn't just about that affordability, it's that they become comfortable. And that's a wonderful word. We've all experienced being in a home where everyone's going up and down changing the thermostat, or no one can get comfortable. People upstairs are too hot and people downstairs are too cold. So it's really introducing some great information into that property decision-making moments and having something that you can trust to build that on.
Yeah, we talked there about homes, places for us to live, but it also comes into the workspace as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, the workspace is slightly different because it's got different sort of regulation around air conditioning and things like this. Yep. But in our homes, there's a lot of missing information and misinformation. And of course, the real estate industry, generally speaking, hasn't kept up to date with these new property features. So why this is so important is that if you've invested in these features, and we'll run through what those 17 things are, then the next generation real estate agent, these livability real estate specialists, are able to leverage that to deliver you a better opportunity to get a higher price in a shorter time frame. And by doing that, you meet that new consumer demand, because the recent research shows that 89% of consumers would find a home more attractive if these features were identified. But you can't just wing it. You need to have proper information that a person looking to buy or rent can trust. And this is where these benchmarks and the collaboration with the CSIRO was so important.
Okay, well, could you walk us through those 17 features, please?
Well, they're not in any order of importance. They just mimic a walk through a property.
Sure.
So the first thing is really an understanding of what climate zone your property is in. And what we do is we just look very generally at general climate patterns, because, of course, climate zones, you can go right down to microclimates. So this is in your city. Is it more likely you're going to get a bigger heating or a cooling bill? Like Sydney, for instance, is a mixed climate. So your heating and your cooling bills are going to be fairly similar. So it's really great information to know what the climate pattern is for your city, to understand what is perhaps a more important consideration when you're trying to find comfort. The other thing is living locally, and this is seeing if that home is close to a vibrant community experience. Whether it's community gardens or farmers markets, being able to walk to those experiences makes a huge difference in terms of, those running costs and comfort, but also just that lifestyle choice. And living locally is something I theorise it's probably a response to all the time we spend in our virtual world, but that's a really, really important thing. So the other is the orientation of your living rooms, and for most of Australia, excluding the top end, it's those north-facing living rooms that are really important. Cross ventilation, these are pathway, the ability for the air to flow through and out your property from one end to the other is very important, and I can go into some detail about that later. Then there's zoning, and zoning is something very simple. It's just the ability to close off rooms and heat and cool the ones that you're in. So a lot of the time, if you've got an open plan situation, you might need to consider just putting a sliding door in, because in the middle of winter, you can more efficiently heat that living room and not have all that air disappear upstairs, right? So it's just the ability to zone off the rooms that you're in. The other is insulation, and here we're talking about the minimum of ceiling insulation, because it really does. If you were to ask me the two of these 17 that are the most important and the cheapest to add and give you the biggest bang for your buck, it would be ceiling insulation and shading on the north and the east-west sides, external shading. But anyway, insulation, and then you've got density of building materials. Some homes have been designed using this magic word called thermal mass, and this is a part of passive design where you could absorb that heating and cooling in very dense building materials like concrete, and then it can re-release it later. So they've normally been specifically designed to bring this wonderful magic to happen, to be able to find more comfort. The other one is if you've got WERS-rated windows. Now, WERS-rated windows is a window energy rating scheme.
How do you spell that? How do you spell WERS?
WERS.
Oh,
and this is a big tip if you're renovating, and to ask for, if they most in compliance these days, most windows have to be WRS rated, but the big tip for the homeowner is ask for the WRS certificate.
Oh, okay.
The certificate that proves that it is a WRS rated window, because you can't tell the difference just by looking at it, right?
Okay,
Because it
yes.
looks the same.
And who would you ask for that? From the builder or from the supplier?
The installer, the window installer.
The window
or
installer.
builder.
Okay.
And also to ask for a receipt from the insulation, installing the insulation, because insulation can last up to 25 years.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Your receipt becomes your warranty. So make sure you get a receipt from the installer. Shading or sun control. Now, we're talking about external shading. A lot of people think that internal shutters are going to make their home cooler, but actually we have to stop that hot sun hitting the glass in the first place. Because once it heats the glass, it gets trapped inside.
Yes.
You know how when you're in a car and you've got it locked up and you go inside the car and it's really hot, that's that glasshouse effect. So if we've got the right shading, and on our website we've got the magic formula for how big your windows are and how wide your shading needs to be, then you're not restricting that winter sun on the right orientations.
That's a great tip.
And then you've got efficient heating and cooling devices, energy efficient lighting. We're talking about LED lighting here. Solar PV, of course, is a wonderful thing. Low water gardens. Most people don't realise that, especially in Sydney and some of the major cities, that so much water goes onto your garden. And when there are water shortages in a big dry, which a lot of Australia is experiencing now, those gardens just die. Yeah. So it's a really great idea to start transitioning to a low water garden, which might be more Mediterranean plants or Australian natives or succulents and grasses, because it's going to look good all year round. Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily need to look like a cacti desert garden.
No, it doesn't have to.
No. And water efficient devices, and we're talking about shower heads, really time to revisit the new generation of water efficient shower heads, which provide a fantastic sort of shower experience, and not like those first ones that we all had to put up with, and dual flush toilets, and of course rainwater tanks, and an energy rating. If you've had your home built since 2006, there's been an energy rating compliance in the National Construction Code, and so it's important to ask for your rating certificate if you're getting a new home. Again, it's that other piece of evidence. Yes. So they're the 17, but there's a lot more detail on our website.
Right. Yeah, and the website, of course, is liveability.com.au. Yeah, I mean, there are some great tips in there, but the point you made right at the front, I think, is very important as well, Cecille, and that is that these are great tools, but they have to be used the way that they were designed to be used.
Yeah, a lot of people, we were tracking this when we developed it, because it took around 4 years to develop the framework so that it's very simple but very robust. Because in the real estate moment, when you're making these big decisions, it's a very short moment, right? It's like 1 minute, and it's highly sensitive, highly competitive, and highly emotional. And so you need trusted information about property delivered to you in a very simple but robust form. Yep. To enable you, to empower you to make the decisions that are right for you. Yes. So what we found is that people, in the absence of this information, they were asking for power bills. Now, the problem about asking for a power bill is it's only going to tell you how the last person lived in that house. It's not a really reliable indication of the running cost potential of that property. Whereas if you've got verified livability features in that property, then you've got something you can really go, this does deliver that potential.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I guess it'd be fair to say that, probably the best time or the best opportunity to do this is at the new build stage. But we shouldn't overlook the opportunities to implement some of these initiatives when we're renovating, as an example.
Well, yes, and this is the biggest myth that I'd like to bust. Unfortunately, in our national conversation about how we create a better home, we think of these things as a new home conversation. Yeah. And out of the 2 million homes in Australia, only 2% are new homes. So that means that there's a whole lot of people we're not talking to. In actual fact, the reason why we developed the 17 things was to give people a shopping list that they could chip away at in their own time and their own priorities, but they knew what was in the shopping list and that those things would be recognised when they sell or rent their property. So this means if you've only got a little bit of money, you could do LED lighting throughout your interior. Or you might like to replace that hot water system with a really efficient hot water system. So as you go about, you can do these simple upgrades when you've got the available money, and I'd really encourage everyone to do that, because every time you invest in one of these things, you're investing in that reduction of running cost potential so that your ongoing outgoings are going to be less, right? But also you've capitalised on that property, and all your listeners know that you need to keep capitalising a property to keep its value.
That's right.
And so this is giving everyone a list to do two things: capitalise, but also take care of you while you're in the house. Because you know that thing where you sell the property and you've done it up and you go, gee, I wish we did that while we were in, right? So it provides, it's almost like, if you're planning a renovation because you want all the bling, you want it to look great, you want it to be a showpiece, for goodness sake, add these features so that it's not just about the bling, it's about health and comfort and lifestyle when you're in the house.
You talked about value there. Have you got a feel for the cost compared, say, to the added value if you're looking at implementing some of these initiatives?
Well, ceiling insulation can be, $3,000. These are just generalised, and certainly I'd encourage everyone to have a look at the ICANN's website. All of these details are on our website. You'll see the list of 17 things and all the people you need to talk to about it. Yeah. But, insulation and external shading, whether it's adjustable or fixed shading, even just an eave overhang can work, right? Yeah. But, LED lighting now, there's an LED solution for every single lighting solution that there is. So the bigger ticket items, things like solar PV, really efficient hot water systems, they're the ones you make, it's a great idea to have solar PV. 1 in 5 homes in Australia has solar PV, but don't underestimate the importance of also investing in these other energy efficiencies so there's less of a drain on your solar. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
You want to get that balance right.
Yeah. Look, talking about value, what are the opportunities for real estate agents to become more involved in becoming educated and understanding more about livability so they can pass this on?
Well, what's really important, I think, to finish this whole opportunity in the marketplace is we know that consumers want the information. We know that real estate agents are wanting to be more relevant in the transaction. They're wanting to deliver better customer experience. They're wanting to understand how they can deliver better opportunities for value for their vendors and their investors in a market that's tightening up. Okay, so being able to leverage and activate, catalyse these features that everyone's been investing in and really know what it is. What is it? Why does it work with livability? And how to market that correctly is incredibly important so that they can be the trusted property professional, not just somebody with a sweeping generalisation, that a potential buyer can actually ask them a deeper question about the solar PV. How old's the inverter? How many kilowatts is it? How does it all work? About the hot water system, a deeper understanding of these property features that are really about the new best home. Because why would you want a home that's going to be expensive to run? I mean, it just doesn't make sense, right? No. So we need the industry to really, that's why what this is about is award-winning training. Because when we train the real estate industry, then first of all, everyone that's done the training has gone, oh my God, this is amazing. This has changed the way I look at properties, changed the way I look at my own home. A lot of the agents that were renovating have changed their own renovation plans. So that's how fascinating it is. But also they can answer consumer questions with confidence. They can lead them to trusted information sources to deliver more information, and they've got all the icons and marketing collateral to showcase these properties properly into this new market.
How can tech play a part in all of this, or how does it play a part, Cecille?
Right. Well, what is fantastic from a homeowner who's about to sell their property, but also the real estate agent that's done the training, you have to do this training to get access to the prop tech. So for your listeners, prop tech is any technology enablement that helps in the property transaction or information about property. And so that agent does a normal property appraisal. We all know that when you're wanting to sell your house, you get agents in and you go, how much is my property worth in today's market? And they walk through the property, they've got their market intelligence, and they make an estimate of how much it's worth. Well, a livability real estate specialist can do this additional livability appraisal, where they're looking for even one of these livability features. And they use on their mobile phone is a special checklist, and each of these 17 has benchmarks underneath it that the house meets. And these are very achievable benchmarks because it's for an existing home. When the agent ticks these benchmarks as they're going around, you know that it's met those benchmarks that have been verified. If you've got 6 or more, then it automatically generates an image for your property listing that can be uploaded into the photo gallery. So it's a showcase opportunity for these if you meet a minimum 6. If you've got under 6, then the agent can leverage even one in the open home and all the additional marketing collateral. So it gives the opportunity for the agent to be able to showcase these missing features, really give fantastic information to potential buyers, because we know that if you're going to upsize a house and you know that you're going to be stretching yourself in terms of your mortgage, to know that this property has some potential to keep those running costs in control, that's more attractive than another property, right, that doesn't have those features.
Yeah.
So this is where it enables those properties show up. Yeah, and it also means that all the work you've been doing to make your own home comfortable is then, it's not missing in that transaction, in that conversation.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for an agent too to make themselves stand out in the marketplace if they've got this extra skill, they've got this endorsement that they're able to bring to the market. And they can demonstrate to an owner too how their knowledge is going to be able to actually help them leverage maybe a better price as well. So there's a lot of upside in this.
But also to be able to actually answer consumer questions, because what we found is that people don't trust real estate agents. But when we said to them, if they'd done training in this area and that was very, trusted and high-level professional training, would you trust them more? And people said, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's time for better quality property information and a better quality conversation in order to help us make those really important decisions when we're investing so much, and also to give us that insight to understand how to make our homes more comfortable when we are getting those climate extremes.
Yeah. Cecille, there are so many more questions that don't have to go unanswered, because they'll all be answered at the website, which is called liveability.com.au. Cecille, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on your great work, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
It was a pleasure, Kevin. Thank you.
AI unlocks the art of science.
When you open a bottle of beer, I don't think many people actually know the level of science that's filled into that bottle. Back in time, it took Carlsberg several years to produce a new beer. But using Microsoft Artificial Intelligence, we will be able to detect new flavors in a split second and develop better beers faster.
With AI, we redefine what's possible.
So cheers!
The Department of Health and Human Services focus is around shifting the trajectory of people's lives.
When we think about digital, we focus on the need to provide our employees with better tools and collaboration capabilities, information sharing across agencies and departments, and front-facing client systems. In human services, we focused on our ability to modernise outdated applications, enabling citizens to have a better,